Okay, good morning.
Good morning.
What I'd like to do this week, I did a little bit of it last year, the year before, but I want to expand on it quite a bit. Parsha Tetzei is a very, very fascinating parsha. It is chock full of mitzvot. It's on page 1046. It is chock full of mitzvot. Actually, there are 27 mitzvot aseh, positive commands, and 47 mitzvot lo ta'aseh, 47 prohibitions. Mathematicians, 74 mitzvot in this parsha. 74 out of 613 is more than 10%. We'll play it safe, right? Probably 11, 12, maybe even 13%. So a good 10, 11, 12, 13% of the mitzvot are found right here in this parsha. And then, so what I like to do is, I like to discuss mitzvot in general, and then some deeper understandings. Some we did in the past, some we'll be adding on to, and how that applies. Hello, Chayrifka.
I want to ask.
Just as one saying, and then I want to do how that applies to the very last aspect of the parsha, which is Amalek. So yes, Chayrifka.
Can we devote our learning to the healing of a granddaughter?
Of course.
Beth, Yehudis Miriam.
So we're learning for a refuah shlema for Rivka, Bas Yehudis Miriam.
Yes, they sound so good in Irvine.
Okay, we should hear good things. B'sorot tovot. Okay? So let's take advantage of our art scroll over here, and we're going to glance through the pages just to get a sense of the wide range of mitzvot that we have over here in our parsha. Starting on 1047 in the English, we're just going to look at the little blurbs on the sides. The woman of beautiful form. Okay? It sounds like an interesting mitzvah, doesn't it? Okay? So the woman, the Isha Yafat Toar is referring to going out to battle. Right? And as opposed to what was normally going on is the plunder, and what goes on tragically here nowadays also, of the plunder and the rape that goes on. If a person wants to take home a wife, a woman from there, there's a whole process that one must go through, right? And he is not intimate with her until the very end of that process, meaning there's a whole cooling down of the passion, of the urge, of the urgency aspect, and then only after a proper, if he's still interested, which normally it is tailored that he won't be interested, right? But if he is still interested, then it's at the end of a conversion process that it will take place. The firstborn's inviolable right. Right, 1049, the wayward and rebellious son. Right, hanging, burial, concern for the property of another, male and female garb, sending the mother bird from the nest, protective fence. Right, you're building on your roof, there needs to be a fence around, no one should fall off. Tzitzit, defamation of a married woman. If the accusation was true, adultery, a betrothed maiden, that's a woman who was violated, and the repercussions for the man that does it. Right, 1055, forbidden and restricted marriages, sanctity of the camp, an escaped slave, sexual purity, interest, meaning not taking interest from a Jew, not charging or paying interest to another Jew. Actually, there's nothing wrong inherently with interest, right? If I could rent you my car, my lawnmower, why can't I rent you my money? It's the same thing, right? That's just regular commerce. However, the idea is that, yes, but to your brother, to your sister, you don't, right? If they're in need of money, you don't rent it to them. You don't lend it with interest. Right, so there it is only to Jews that we cannot neither lend nor borrow with interest. Vows to God, a worker's right to eat. Right, as he's working the field, he can chomp along as he's working. Divorce, remarriage, millstone. Right, and that is taking collateral. What one can take as collateral, what one cannot take as collateral from someone for a loan. right? If you're taking something that their livelihood depends upon it, you can't take that. Kidnapping, sarat, slander, the dignity of a debtor, timely work payment of workers, individual responsibility, consideration for the orphan and the widow, gifts to the poor from the harvest, lashes, levirate marriage and releasing the obligation, right? That is referring to the idea of a person dying. We discussed this at length previously. A husband dying, leaving a wife with no children. The way that late husband can have continuity in this world is through marrying she marrying the paternal brother of the late husband. Penalty for embarrassing another, honest weights and measures, and then remembering Amalek. Good morning, Lily. How are you? Good. Come in so we could join us. Okay. So this, as we said, is chock full of mitzvot, coming from all angles. I mean, it's not like one category of mitzvot. It's coming from all angles. So, what is a mitzvah?
To do good to the other people.
Okay, so some people like to say a good deed, to do good to other people. Now, my eating matzah isn't doing good to anyone. Certainly not to my digestive tract. Right? So that's an aspect of mitzvot. Right? That's a category of mitzvot. We call those bein adam lechaveiro. Certain mitzvot are between man and between one and his friend, or one and his or her friend, right? But we need a term that's also going to encompass between person to person and person to God.
That's a commandment.
Okay, it's a commandment. It's a law. It's a commandment. Linda, what did you want to say? It's a commandment. Okay? That's what the root of mitzvah is, commandment. Now, there are also those, I believe the Shla says, it also comes from a term of tsevet, which is accompaniment, right? Coming together, joining together. Let's understand this a little further. And this part we did last year or 2 years ago. If it is simply commandments, then probably the best term would be tzivuyim, right? Commandments. Mitzvah is a strange sort of grammatic conjugation.
Maybe it's mitzvah.
Okay. So maybe it's mitzaveh, right? Which is the person that commands. Maybe it's mitzuveh, which is the person who is commanded. Right. But it's not called a mitzaveh, and it's not called a mitzuveh, it's called a mitzvah, which seems to be a merge. Now, where else do we have this conjugated form? In a loan, we have a malveh, is the one who extends the money, lends the money. We have the loveh, is the one who borrows it. And the transaction that is bringing those two together, that flashpoint, that meeting point of the lender and the borrower, is the milveh. That is the loan. Okay, maybe in modern Hebrew, right? The way that it's termed in a biblical sense, it's the milveh. So now, when it comes to a mitzvah, what do we have? We have the mitzaveh, the commander. We have the mitzuveh, the commanded. There's God and there's us. And where do we meet? At the mitzvah. So the mitzvah is that flash point, that meeting point between the commander and the commanded, between God and us. And the idea, there's a pasuk where we say, Ki ner mitzvah v'torah or. Torah is referred to as light. Light is waves. That's what light is, something that we can't touch. There's no tangibility to the light. Torah is or, is light. Mitzvah is the lamp, is the ner. What is that ner? What is that candle? What is that lamp? The physical entity that allows the light to have its place, to have its space, its connection. Chai Rivka.
Isn't God considered light?
Yes. Well, God is compared to light.
I guess we can't compare, but
Correct.
Often saying He creates with His light. His light.
Correct.
Light.
So the mitzvah is the way that a physical being living in a physical world is able to connect to that which is so far beyond the physical. We need to do something physical in order to connect our physical self to that which is the spiritual, that which is beyond the physical. And that's why in Judaism we do our beliefs in the form of mitzvot. We don't just have beliefs, we do our beliefs. Classic, best example, and we'll come to this at the very end again, Shabbat. Shabbat demonstrates our belief that
God created the world.
God created the world. But we don't just believe God created the world. We need to do our belief of God creating the world. How do we do our belief of God creating the world? Oh, so our belief is that 6 days God created, and the seventh day God ceased to create. So how do we do our belief? Come Shabbat, we stop doing creative activities. Right? It's not that we stop working. It's not work for me to write, but I stop writing. That's creative activity. It's not work for me to hit a light switch, but that's creative activity. So we do our beliefs in order to take our physical being and connect it to that which is beyond. So the mitzvah is that flashpoint where the physical and the spiritual meet. The mitzvah of tefillin is another great example. We believe that whenever we do a mitzvah, this very concept is that we are becoming wrapped, so to speak, enveloped in God's presence because we are connecting the physical to the spiritual. The mitzvah that we do that demonstrates that is the tefillin, where we wrap ourselves with God's name. So that's the mitzvah that does the concept of a mitzvah being this connection between us and Hashem. Yes, Dov?
Mitzvah is a mitzvah that you get in.
Okay.
That's a good example too.
I'm not sure what you... Oh, mikvah you said.
Yeah.
Oh, I think you said mitzvah. Oh, mikvah. Okay. Okay. Now, this, the Sefer Imam Hakim, which I'm drawing a lot from today, brings in the name of the Zohar that this is included in the word mitzvah. The fact that the mitzvah is a flashpoint between us and Hashem is contained in the Hebrew word mitzvah. Mem, tzadi, vav, hey. And he explains this very, very beautifully. There are two parts to the name of Hashem. There's Yud Hey, which can be a name of Hashem in and of itself, but the full name of Hashem is Yud Hey, followed by a Vav and a Hey. That's the full name of God that we don't pronounce, right? Zeh Shemi, this is my name, right? But Zichri, that's not the way that it is mentioned, right? It's mentioned, we say Aleph Dalet Nun Yud, we don't pronounce Yud Kei Vav Kei, okay? But God's name is the Yud, followed by the Hey, followed by the Vav and the Hey. Mitzvah, the last two letters are Vav Hey. Okay? So that's like down on this end, we have part connecting to part of God's name. But the first two letters are Mem and Tzadi. Now, in the Hebrew alphabet, a way that we interpret and see meanings is called atbash. Atbash is Aleph, is aligned, the first letter is aligned with Taf, the last letter. Bet, second letter, aligned with Shin, second to last letter. Gimel, etc., etc., etc. And it's sort of a mirror image, almost like a reflection. So let's go on Mem, right? Mem is which letter from the end? Mem, Nun, Samach, Ayin, Pei, Tzadi, Kuf, Resh, Shin, Taf. Mem is which letter from the end? 10. So what's it aligned with in the beginning? Yud, the 10th letter. Tzadi, Kuf, Resh, Shin, Taf. Tzadi is which letter from the end? 5th from the end. What's it aligned with? Hey. So using atbash, a mitzvah spells out Yud, Hey. Well, it doesn't spell out Yud, Hey. It's the reflection of the Yud, Hey that connects to us down here in the world with our more physical Vav, Hey. The Yud, Hey is up there. The Vav, Hey is down here. We have the reflection, the atbash of the Yud, Hey and our Vav, Hey. And what do we come together at? Mitzvah. Okay? That's something to remember. Miri, something to remember?
It's amazing.
That's something to remember. That's what a mitzvah is. The mitzvah is the flash point. I mean, it goes on and on. Those who are with me on this, I'm just going to say it quickly. And there's...
What book is that?
This is in Hebrew.
It's all Hebrew?
All Hebrew. Sorry. Yeah. Now, right? We say the pasuk I said before, where Hashem says, "That's my name." Zeh Shemi Liolam, v'Zeh Zichri L'Dor Dor. This is my name forever, but this is the way that I'm remembered. So Shemi is the gematria of 350. That together with Yud Hey, 15 is 365. That's how many days of the year, that's how many prohibitions there are. Zichri, my remembrance, that is a gematria of 237. That plus the gematria of Vav Hey, which is 11, is 248. That's how many positive commands we have. So also contained in there. But let's go conceptually a little bit further now. What is the very first mitzvah of the Torah? Well, okay, you can give me a wrong answer which could be argued. But one might say, well, let's see, Avram was commanded to do Brit Milah, right? And Yaakov was commanded not to eat from that sciatica, the back of the leg of the animal. But the first mitzvah that was commanded to the Jewish people as the Jewish people In other words, we don't keep Brit Milah because God commanded Avram to. We keep Brit Milah because that became one of the mitzvot that we were commanded. We don't keep Gid Hanasha because God told Yaakov not to eat. We keep we don't eat the Gid Hanasha. That's the hind quarters of the animal, right? Well, it's not just the hind. Well, nowadays we basically don't eat the hind quarters because it's very difficult to remove just the things that need to be removed, right? So we have an abundance of meat. We just send the whole hind quarters. We send that off to the non-kosher consumers, and right. But the first mitzvah that was commanded to the nation as a whole,
Was it a calendar?
the calendar, Kiddush HaChodesh, Jewish time, to the point that Rashi, one of the first Rashi, I think it's actually the first Rashi in the whole Torah, says in the name of Rabbi Yitzchak that the Torah should have really started with that, with HaChodesh Hazeh Lachem. Yeah, first Rashi in the Torah. HaChodesh Hazeh Lachem Rosh Chadashim. Now the Jewish time, the Jewish calendar, the Rosh Chodesh. Now we have a very strange sort of calendar. Right? In less than a month we're going to have Rosh Hashanah. Rosh Hashanah is the start of the year. What's the calendar, the Jewish calendar date of Rosh Hashanah? The first day of the seventh month. Rosh Hashanah Tishrei.
Yeah.
So the Jewish calendar says our new year is on the first day of the seventh month. What is going on? Right, it sounds like a very confused people. Happy New Year! It's the first day of the seventh month. Right? What's going on? Well, we have two systems going. We have the solar system going, and we have the lunar system going. And we have to merge the two. Now, Islam follows a lunar system. The lunar system is 354 days a year, 11 days shorter than the solar year. And therefore, they who don't make any corrections, their calendar is always 11 days earlier, 11 days earlier, 11 days earlier. So their holiday of Ramadan, let's say if you're starting in the spring, it moves back to the winter, and then it's in the fall, then it's in the summer, and then it's back to the spring, right? Over a course of 33 years, basically, they've lost an entire year. We are commanded that Passover must be in the spring. Therefore, we understand that we have to keep adjusting it. And therefore, 7 out of every 19 years, we add a month. And mathematically, that's how we stay in sync. So we have our months, either 29 or 30 days, and our years are either 12 or 13 months. That's how we stay in sync.
Rabbi, if you have a yortzeit and the yortzeit, the person died on a leap year, how do you calculate?
So if the person died on a year where there was only one Adar, right, either we have 1 or 2 months of Adar. That's the month.
No, if the person died on a year where there were 2 months of Adar.
In Adar.
In Adar.
Okay, so if they died in a month where there were 2 Adars, and the person passed away either first Adar or second Adar, on the Yortzeit year where there are 2 Adars, you'll pick that one. On the Yortzeit year there was only 1 Adar, it'll be that, whether
same date, but of the whichever Adar.
Whichever Adar it was, it'll be in Adar. Where it gets confusing is, the person died in a year, there's only 1 Adar, and now on the Yortzeit there's 2 Adars, which one do we pick? Right? Purim, we pick the second Adar. Yortzeit, we pick the first Adar, because we don't want to pass by that time without noting it. Okay. In a deeper sense, there is this concept, this interplay between the solar and the lunar. The solar represents that which does not change. That is what we would call the natural, the nature of the world. And that's why the year In Hebrew, what's the word for year? Shana, right? Which means repeating, right? Right? It's again. It's sheni. It's again. It's again. It's again. It's again. It's again. It never changes. The levana, the moon, the lunar, that starts off very small. Of course, we're talking about the moon doesn't change. We're talking about our view of it, our perception of it. Very small, gets full around the 15th of the month. Then it gets smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller until that crescent is not visible. Then it reappears, and we have the new month. That is what we call chodesh. The root of that is chadash. Chodesh, month. Chadash is new. This idea is that which is beyond. This represents that which is not the constant, not the same old, but that which is beyond the teva, beyond the nature. Right? Nature is miracles that we've grown accustomed to, because it's no greater miracle when the food fell from the heaven when we were in the desert as manna. That's no greater miracle than putting a seed into the ground and a watermelon growing from a seed this big, or a jackfruit. Gosh, those things are amazing. Yeah,
It's
to try.
so delicious.
Okay, I'll have to try one sometime.
It's
Right? Right? It's no less of more of a miracle if the food falls from the heaven or grows from the earth. So the teva, the nature, is something that we're used to, miracles we're used to, and then there is that which we're not used to. So the sun represents that which we expect, the natural movement of the world. And the moon represents al tiv'i, that which is beyond the natural. And what is it that we must do? We merge the two. The very first mitzvah of the Jewish people is Jewish time, meaning merging the two. For us, it's not going off to a convent and cutting ourselves off from the world. It is the merge of the physical and the spiritual. It is the mitzvah. It is the coming together of the two. That is an explanation as to why that is the first mitzvah of the Torah, and why Rashi said, why didn't the Torah begin with that? That's what Torah is all about. Living in this physical world, but connecting to the spiritual when we are here in the physical world. Now, there's a medrash. So this Sod HaIbor, it's called, this represents everything that Torah and Mitzvot is all about, which is bringing the physical up and touching the spiritual, right? And I've mentioned before, right? I just had a wedding on Sunday, right? There are two things, I'm saying there are only two things where we take the word kadosh, holy, and we turn that into a term that we use for something else. We take the shoresh, the root of the word holy, kadosh, and we use it for something else. What are those two? What are two things? Well, Sunday we had a marriage. What's a marriage? Kiddushin. So marriage is kadosh. What else do we have? Every Shabbat? Okay, Kaddish, good. We'll come to that also at the very end. We also make Kiddush. Now, isn't it interesting? Let's look at the two other monotheistic religions, right? We say marriage is holy. What do they say holy is? Abstention from marriage. That's what the real holy people are those who, right? Marriage is for those who are weak. right? Don't do it in sin. Do it under the guise of a marriage. But the ideal is a priest, nun, right? When one is completely away from any physical relationship.
And Buddhism?
I don't know. Also the same? I don't know.
I think so. Monks.
It's
I
Catholic.
think so.
Monks are not married.
Yeah.
That's just that's Catholic. It's not all Christian.
Uh-huh.
It's Catholic.
That's Catholic.
Yeah.
Catholicism. Okay. Kiddush. We make that over wine. What does Islam say about wine?
No.
No. Right? So these other two religions are taking these two aspects and saying, no, don't involve yourself. Don't involve yourself. Don't involve yourself in the world. And we say involvement in the world done properly, done within the framework of mitzvot is kadosh. Marriage is kadosh. Yes, the physical relationship is the physical, intimate, sexual relationship is kadosh. Kiddush, wine, will soon come to the kaddish also, and a good third example. There's a medrash that says, Meit Yosef v'achiv, Yosef and his brothers died. We stopped doing the iburim, the calendar, because we were under the enslavement of Egypt. So too, we will stop doing it atidim lima'et besof shivur malchut reviyat. At the end of the fourth exile that we are in now, we will stop doing it ad sheyavo melech HaMashiach, until the Mashiach comes, till the Messiah arrives. Well, we still kind of do it. We still have our months and our years. We've got our calendar all set up. But what's it referring to? It's not referring to simply the actual going through the months and the years. We're talking about this concept of the merge of the months and the years. The merge of the tiv'i, the natural, and the al-tiv'i, that which is beyond the natural. When will we come to that? When Mashiach comes. That's when we will fully sense and appreciate and live this integration of the physical and the spiritual. Let's now go to Amalek. The very last part of the Parsha is remembering Amalek. Amalek attacked us. When we were on our way out from Egypt. Okay? Asher karcha b'derech. Now, we have this serious beef with Amalek. Let's understand, what does Amalek represent? And why would Amalek be here at the very end of this Parsha? Now, again, this Parsha we went through is replete with mitzvot, and some of them are mitzvot that dealing with one another, with things, with God. It's the full gamut of the mitzvot. There's a very strange medrash. Let's see if Rashi brings it. Rashi on the pasuk, Asher karcha baderech, that they happened upon you on the way. This is verse 18, 1066, 1067. Vayizanev b'cha kol hanachashalim acharecha. Vayizanev, the English translate, he struck those of you who were in the back, hindmost. Rashi brings a very strange medrash. Makat zanav, Rashi says, chotech milot v'zore klape mala. They would cut off the foreskins, as in a circumcision, and throw it up towards the heavens. Strange. Our sages often will speak in very couched terms, euphemistic terms. I don't know if they were literally cutting off the circumcision and throwing it up to Shamayim, throwing it up towards the heavens. But this was their point. Meaning, why would they have a specific issue with the mitzvah of circumcision? Why specifically circumcision? What does circumcision represent? Right? The Greeks, they prohibited circumcision. What does circumcision represent? And why then would we understand that Amalek has an issue specifically with circumcision or with that concept that circumcision represents?
It's a completion of becoming a Jew for a man.
Okay.
And a covenant.
Circumcision is the completion for a man. It's a covenant. Good, Linda, what were you going to say?
It was a covenant between man and God, and the Greeks didn't want that connection
Okay.
between us.
Okay.
And Amalek.
Now, why is the covenant over there? Why is the covenant on that part of the human male anatomy?
Because it's reproducing. It's a reproduction of
Okay,
life.
okay.
It's a reproduction
So
of
if
life.
this is the covenant for the nation, the covenant will be on the reproductive organ. Good, right? That's one aspect. Good. Is there another aspect that we can see?
The physical differentiation
Okay.
between
Okay.
them and us.
Okay. Right, we've spoken about a mitzvah needing to be something physical. Okay? The Greeks worshipped the human body, the human form. Right? That's what was literally on the pedestal. Right? The Olympics, all athletes were naked. Right? That was the glory of the human being. They literally put that on the pedestal, right? All of the statues, right? That is the glory, meaning we're down here. We're down here. We don't connect to that which is up there, right? Actually, the Medrash says cutting the foreskins and throwing it up, saying, here, this is yours. It's in effect saying, you stay there. We're down here. Right? You know, God, yeah, God, whatever you are, God, gods, capital G, singular, small g, plural, whatever. Yeah, that's where you are. We're down here. Right? We're involved in this world down here. Right? We'll soon see also. The other things the Greeks made the decrees about were Mila, Shabbos, Chodesh, right? Which we just explained how Chodesh, the month, is the melding of that world and this world, and also Shabbos, right? Which we'll come to soon. So the idea of the mindset, the hashkafa, the world view of Amalek that we must look to purge is that, yeah, God, if he's up there, he's up there. But that doesn't deal with me. That doesn't deal with what's down here. Brit Mila signifies that God did not make this world complete. The female body, yes. The male body is imperfect, and it's for us to perfect it. And that's meant to teach us the same way that in a physical sense we need to perfect it. Sefer Chinuch says so too, in a spiritual sense. We need to perfect it. Meaning, we partner with God. We have that flashpoint. Why on that part of the human anatomy? So like Marta said, this is the covenant, and therefore this is the reproduction, and that's where the covenant must be for all generations. And perhaps also because that is the most physical part of the human body, the most this world, the most sensual part of the human body. That is the part where we feel the most intense physical pleasure. And to recognize that every aspect, every part of us, every aspect is meant to be connecting to Hashem. And there is that connection from heavens down to earth. There is that flash point. Now, if you turn for a second to Shmot Yud Zayin, that's the other place where we speak about Amalek. It's on page 300. 390, the very bottom, 391. Vayavo Amalek v'yilachim im Yisroel b'Refidim. Amalek came and battled Israel Refidim. Moshe said to Yoshua, page 393, choose people for us and go battle with Amalek. Tomorrow I will stand on top of the hill with the staff of God in my hand. Yoshua did as Moshe told him to battle with Amalek, and Moshe, Aaron, and Hur stand on top of the hill. When Moshe raised his hand, Israel was stronger. When he lowered his hand, Amalek was stronger. Okay? The Gemara asks, the Mishnah asks, what, is it Moshe's hands lifted up? Is that what's making us win the war or lose the war? Rashi brings, right, V'chi, where is it? V'chi yadosh Moshe notzchot. Right? Where is his hands winning the war, losing the war? When he lifted his hands, we looked up towards Shamayim, towards the heavens. When he lowered his hands, we were not looking towards the heavens. What does that mean? What's looking towards the heavens? Connecting. When we understand that we have this connection with Hashem, then we are winning the battle against Amalek. When it's a battle, and it's just a battle, and it's just tactical moves, and deciding what's the best strategic plan, then we've entered into the realm of Amalek, into the world of Amalek, and then we lose. Now look at the very last pasuk. Vayomer, and he said, Ki yad al kes ka. Milchama Hashem ba'Amalek midor dor. The hand is on the throne of God. Case means the throne. It's a shortened version of which word? Seat, chair, kisei. Right? Yud Hey is a shortened version of Hashem's name. Yud Kei, Vav Kei. Right? So therefore, case, but not kisei, Rashi says, and the name of Hashem is split, meaning that what? God's name is not complete, and his throne is not complete when Amalek is still here. Now let's go back to what we said before. Amalek, Yud Hey, what are they missing? The Vav Hey. What does the Yud Hey represent? That was the reflection, the atbash of the mitzvah. The Yud Hey is up there, and the Vav Hey is down here. So what's Amalek saying? God, where are you? Who are you, God? You are Yud Kei. You are the Yud Hey, not the Vav Hey. Up there. Stay up there. Stay up there. Don't bother us down here. Yes, Dov.
I would say also Amalek when he's like throwing when he was throwing, is saying, you commanded your people to do this. You're not going to command us to do one thing. We don't care.
Okay? Okay.
That's how they are.
Now, let's take two more points. One more point, and they'll come back to Chaya Rivka's point, where I said about where do we use the word, the root of holiness. I said Kedushin and Kiddush, and you said Kaddish. All the same thing, okay? Let's take one other thing. Zachor et asher asa lecha Amalek. Right? Remember that which Amalek did to you. Right? That was our Parsha, right? We just had that?
Yes.
Right? Zachor et asher asa lecha Amalek. Anywhere else in Torah we have the word Zachor?
Yes, and the Ten Commandments.
Ten Commandments in regard to
Parents
Shabbat.
and Shabbat.
Right? In regard to Shabbat. Shamor v'zachor v'dibor echad. Zachor et Yom HaShabbat le'kadsho. So we have the same term, Zachor, by Amalek that we have by Shabbat. What would the connection be between Shabbat and Amalek, or maybe between us remembering Amalek and removing that Amalek? What's the connection? What would a connection be between Shabbat and this eradication of this worldview of Amalek?
Hashem's there, but he's not involved.
Okay, what is Shabbat all about?
Creation.
It's about Hashem.
Creation, yes, but how do we celebrate our Shabbat?
By imitating
On a mountaintop? What do we do?
By imitating what
We
Hashem
eat, yes, there's that aspect, right? But what do we do? Right, we eat,
Too much.
right? Normally, how many meals does a person have? Let's say 2 meals a day. On Shabbat, what's the obligation? 3 meals a day, right? We partake of this world, but in a kadosh, holy manner. Shabbat is where heaven and earth come together. Right? It is a day of the week that is uplifted up. Vayinafash, we learn that a person has a nefesh yetera. A person has that extra nefesh, that extra soul on Shabbat. The reason why we smell the bisamim at the end of Shabbat, it's supposed to be like smelling salt. A person's about to faint. What do? You get some smelling salt. Right? As our extra soul leaves us, we get wobbly. Oh no! Right? And we need to bolster. We need to regain our equilibrium. Okay, I'm okay now. I can make it till next Friday night. Right? Shabbat is where heavens and earth meet. Remember the Shabbat. Remember Amalek. Those are the two opposite ideas. Kaddish, Chai Rivka said, Yitgadal v'yitkadash Shemei Rabbah. Listen carefully to this. Shemei Rabbah is your great name. Let it become Gadol. Let it become great, magnified. V'yitkadash, let it be made holy. Shemei Rabbah. Please spell for me the word Shemei. Shin Mem Yud Hey. Shemei is Shin Mem Yud Hey. What does that spell? Shame, the name of Yud Hey. What's the name of Yud Hey? Where is that?
Up above.
That's up above. What are we saying in the Kaddish? Yitgadal v'yitkadash. May that name Yud Hey, may it become expanded, made great, made holy. Meaning what? Let it not just be the name Yud Hey, let it expand. Let it become the Yud Hey, Vav Hey. Yud Hey is up there. The reflection is the Mem Tzadi. The Vav Hey is where? Is down here. Let the name become great, meaning let it extend to where? To permeate this world. It's not meant to be up there. It's meant to be down here in our interactions, in our dealings, in our private moments, in our public moments, in our between man and person, between person and God. It is meant to permeate everything that we do. So thank you for that, Chaya Rivka. A third place where we use the term kadosh is Kaddish, where we speak about God's name becoming great, extending down here. Kedusha is taking the mundane and making it holy. It's not staying away, it's not abstaining, it's using that which is given to us in the proper way, in the proper time, with the proper person, right? And doing it in a holy fashion. That's what makes it kadosh. That's what makes it uplifted. So our Parsha is replete with this whole plethora of mitzvot, the full range of mitzvot, and it ends off with Amalek. Amalek is the anti-mitzvah. The mitzvah is the Mem Tzadi reflection, Vav Hey, is the flashpoint between heaven and earth, meeting point, making sure that everything is infused, everything physical is infused with that ruchaniyut, with that spirituality. Amalek was all about Brit Milah, cutting it off. Yud Hey, separate. Actually, Asher Karcha B'derech, that they happened upon you on the way, that is their mindset. Happened upon you. Things just happen. And we say, HP moments, Hashgacha Pratis, divine super intervention, supervision, orchestration, things don't just happen. That is our Parsha and the end of the mitzvot and the anti-mitzvah. Yes, Chaya Rivka.
We still have Amalek in our life, right?
I'm sorry?
Amalek is still in.
Yeah, we have Hashem in our life. Forget about Amalek.
Right, I understand. So as you were saying, I was thinking, he never died. There's Amalek.
Yeah.
Amalek is still there.
Yeah.
As long as we share.
Yeah, but let's not even look at Amalek. Hashem's in our life.
Yeah, no, I understand
Yeah.
that. I understand.
Yeah.
The Hashem has to be in our life completely or more to eradicate.
Yeah. He's there as much as we let him in.
Right. Yeah. And some people let him in.
Yeah.
Amalek in a lot.
Yeah.
It's a temptation, I think.
I'm sorry?
I think it's a
You know what I mean?
temptation to get you away from the
Oh,
holiness.
sure. It's a lot more comfortable to not feel that
It's
presence
much easier
and to
to
do your own thing.
that.